Yeah, so thanks for joining me today, guys. What I've done, I've put together a quick Facebook ads best practices slides. There was a lot of questions on, the best practices of Facebook ads in our last call. So this is just typically what I do for clients. You have to look to test and implement things yourself, but this should give you a bit of a building block to work from. All right. So the first thing I really wanted to talk about is you're going to get a lot of data when it comes to Facebook ads. There's so much in there that you could look at. I want to talk about the 5 metrics that I think are the most important. And we'll start with the basic ones like cost per impressions, CPM. And basically that is how Facebook is charging you. Facebook will charge you per 1,000 impressions based on the quality of your ad and a whole different other factors, right? So your CPM is kind of the first one to look at. If that's blowing out of the water, if that's like 60, 70 bucks, then you've got an issue with your ad really not being clicked on. And then what I want to do is kind of keep in mind is like, as we go down this ladder, as we go down this funnel, as you can see here, we're going to talk about the hops from one metric to the next. So cost per impressions, cool. So that's how many people see your ads. Then the next one is how many people actually click through to your ads. So click-through rate. You want about a 1 to 2% here. I've seen ones about like 3.5. That's fantastic. But if you're below 1, something's seriously wrong. And you need to just make sure that people are clicking on your ad. Otherwise, your CPM is going to be much higher, but you're not going to be getting potential leads, right? Does that make sense? That kind of like the CPM versus CTR? Because that's one of the more tricky ones I find.
Yeah, that does make sense.
Cool. Sounds good. So the next 2 points I wanted to put together is the cost per lead, but then the cost per qualified lead. So cost per qualified lead, you won't find in Facebook. It's a metric I use to measure how ads are going. Typically with Facebook ads, say if you get 10 leads, you're going to have about somewhere between 5 and 6 that are actually leads, in my experience, somewhere around half. If it's a competitive niche, if it's a competitive area for solar companies, might be a bit worse. It all depends, right? So you want to make sure that your cost per lead is low. Typically $20 is a good level to aim for, but then you're going to have people that just won't pick up the call and just not good fits. There's a couple of ways to kind of filter these out, which I'll touch on in a bit. But the next point is cost per qualified lead. And that's the lead, that will send you their energy information, pictures of their bill, pictures of their meters, everything you need, right, to actually do the proposal. And if you're doing Facebook ads, I typically see this around the $100 mark. So it's about 1 in 5 leads are actually like really serious. But 150 is still a pretty good level to aim for. Once again, this will depend on how competitive your area is. Like if you're in California versus, I don't know, like somewhere else in the States like Massachusetts that doesn't really do much solar compared to California, like all these are going to vary so much, right? It's just a bit of a range to try and aim for, and then continually beat that these metrics with testing. But cost per qualified lead is not a metric you'll find in Facebook. It's going to be basically in your CRM. Be like, hey, this was a good lead. How many leads out of 10 or out of 100 do I have kind of coming through from Facebook? And how can we improve that? Because that's the metric you really want to get to, because that qualified lead would then kind of let you know how your sales process is doing, right? Because a lot of companies I speak to, they're like, the leads are terrible. And it's like, well, you only call a lead once or twice. So maybe it's your sales process that needs work, right? So cost per qualified lead is a good indicator of which side of the hop is causing that breakdown, right? And then cost per acquisition, how much does it cost in ads to generate a client, to generate a customer, right? Once again, this is going to vary so much. I have got clients sitting around the 200 to 250 CPA, but it is a little bit of a red herring if you're not in a very competitive area. If you're in a much more competitive area, it's going to be closer to the 350 to 500 kind of range, right? So that's what I would be measuring. That's what I'd be kind of like checking like every 1 to 2 days, just to kind of get a bit of a feel for it, and just make sure nothing's breaking down. Any questions about like these metrics, what they are, at all?
I have a question. Does this all, because I haven't done any Facebook ads, I've been doing this all organically, but does this all show up in an analytics, like on your business page, or where can you find this information?
Yeah, so if I'll show you this next screen. This is a screen from a campaign that I have running. So this will be kind of like your campaign overview, right? And you're going to have your cost per result, which is cost per lead on Facebook. So cost per result, CPR, is the same as CPL. Facebook just like to be difficult. And then you can add and remove columns through these sections up here, like columns, performance, and clicks. You can even add more. I think there's a little plus button right here where my cursor is. So you can add in your CPM and that kind of stuff. I think CPM does come up there by default, but you can add in a whole bunch of stuff, right? Just to make the most important information show up easy. Yeah, does that kind of, I'd have to actually just share my screen and go into a campaign and be like, hey, this is how you can find the metrics. This is how you can add them. I can do that if that would be helpful. It's a bit out of the scope of the slides.
That's fine. Yeah, this right here, just question, and that's nice that you can. Oh, cool. Yep, answers.
Yeah. Perfect. Sounds good. So yeah, just jumping back to this, what I would say is like, if you track all this, you should be able to see where your funnel is breaking down. And that's the most important thing. Say if you've got a really good click-through rate, you've got a 5% click-through rate, like a 4 or 5% click-through rate, you're getting so many clicks, but you're not getting leads. So you've got one lead out of a 5% click-through rate and you've spent, a few $100s. So that's a good indication that your ad are being clicked on, but for some reason, people aren't filling out their information. It's like, okay, why are they not filling out their information? You take that next step and you can analyze and identify the problem and then work to solve it. If you don't track this data, it's kind of guessing, which you don't want to do in ads because you're burning money then. Cool. If there's no more questions, I will move on. Okay. Sounds good. So this is just some key metrics. This is just a screenshot. You can see that I'm measuring CPO and CPA, and then return on ad spend and ROI are the two metrics that you can then put into the calculations. But this all comes from your CPMs, your CPO, CPAs, all that kind of stuff, right? Just make sure you're tracking the right things. There's so much data in Facebook ads that you can lose track of what's important. But as a basic, you want to get those 5 measurements down for sure. So wanted to touch on how you can find what ads are working, right? Especially if you're starting. Brianna, I don't know how long, are you running ads, Brianna?
I've never ran any ads. I have an organic videos, post where I'm at. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. So what I would do is Facebook ads library basically shows every ad that's run for a certain period of time, right? So all your competitors will be up there, or your people running ads across the country, across the world, basically everyone that runs ads on Facebook. And there's a couple of things you can do here to really identify what's working. And I've got another slide to show you kind of what to stay away from. But you can select your country, you can select your keywords, or you can search for a specific company here. So this is at facebook.com/ads/library. Go there, you'll get the page, and then we'll be able to kind of jump in there and start searching for ads. So you can either do keywords, which I've done here with solar company. Solar company in Canada, very general keyword. But if I wanted to look for solar solutions company, I could just type them in there, and then I would be able to pick their specific brand name, right? Now, there's a couple of things to notice here. The first one is how long these ads have been running for. Because as an advertiser, you're only going to run ads for a long time if it's profitable, right? So you can see that this ad here ran from May 21st to June 1st, and now it's inactive. So for some reason, that ad didn't work. It was burning money. They turned it off. But this ad has started running 20th of May, and it's still running. So that's a pretty good indication that it's performing quite well. Just because it's been on for so long, you could definitely find this one over here started running on the 5th of May, so it's been running even longer. And then you can start to look for patterns of what's working, right? Facebook won't give you the data behind the ads, but you can start to see what your competitors are doing. The one thing that the pages that have been running longer, so Get Quote is a really good call to action, right? I definitely think this ad over here would be performing the best, judging by it running longer and it's getting a quote. You can also see the platforms they're running on. So if you see people running on Facebook and Instagram only, I don't really like Messenger. I think Messenger is a pretty poor ROI, and this is the audience network. So any kind of the audience network is a bit of a kind of a wide umbrella of places where ads can show, and I don't find the ROI is there. So I just run my ads on Facebook and Instagram. I don't worry about the other two. You have to go and manually unselect them, but that's what I would start with, Facebook and Instagram only. Does that make sense about where to find this, or the questions that this kind of answers?
Yeah, that does make sense. I don't know if this is the right time to ask this question, but you mentioned how the Get Quote is a great call to action. Do you think that that's the best call to action over visit website or contact us through phone?
I find the best ROI comes from Get Quote. Learn More is a really good one. If you're not trying to push that in like that conversion right away, Learn More is really good if you're trying to more educate them and like build up your brand name. Get Quote or Call Now are usually the two that work really well for money-based conversions.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, I would not do Like Page. I think that's a waste. Learn More is pretty good, and this one doesn't even have one, so I'm not too sure what's going on there. I definitely want to call to action. I think you have to have a call to action. I don't know why it's not showing up. But yeah, definitely just make sure that your call to action aligns with the message of your ad and what you're trying to promote. So on the flip side, there's a lot of what not to do when it comes to ads. And we've all probably seen these being in the solar industry and being on Facebook. It's, get paid to go solar, free solar, all this kind of stuff. And in some ways, the ads are truthful, but you've got to kind of put your mind in your customer and what are they expecting, right? If they're clicking this one in the bottom left-hand corner, says get solar panels for no cost, and then right in this tiny little writing, you can see ad install. You can't read it on there, but that's what it says. And it's like, it's misleading, right? So your cost per lead is going to be so low, but then when they get on the phone with your sales team, they're expecting free solar. So I would assume that this is a marketing agency running this, because it's usually marketing agencies that run these type of ads. It's not going to work. It's going to be such a hard sale for that sales team because the customer's coming into it with the wrong expectations. Okay. So I wouldn't do any misleading messaging. You obviously want to make it enticing and a sense of urgency, but yeah, you don't want to be like free solar, and then when you try and give them a bill for 15 to 20 grand, they're obviously going to be a bit confused, right? Has anyone noticed this? Has anyone ever like seen ads like this that run?
I have, and actually I've had people send it to me and ask me if it's available in free solar. I do like these deep dive trying to figure out where it's coming from or what it is, and it's not displayed even on the websites that it's coming from initially. So pretty frustrating.
It is, and I think it's one of them like the misconceptions that I think really hurt solar. Because everyone's like free solar and then they can't get free solar. So then it just puts a bad taste in people's mouth about how good solar can be, right? Because it's misleading. And it is, I would definitely bet money on it being a marketing agency that have done these and selling cost per lead to the agency, to the solar company, sorry. Because they don't care if it closes. Like they're not part of your company. They're just selling the leads at a cost per lead basis. So yeah, if you do work with an agency, just ask to see the ads before they go live. just yeah, do that, because a lot of cheap agencies will do this because that's the only way they can make money on selling leads, right? Any questions from anyone about the ads library? How to find this, what to look for? I will move on. So I've got a bit of text information here. I'll kind of push through these a bit. If you guys got questions, let me know. There's a lot to cover. So I try to put a lot in here, but I don't want to get way down in it. Videos and images will work. A video dimension, typically, it's a 4 to 5 or a 6 to 19, I believe. I'll have to double check that other one, but 2 typically work. 4 to 5 is what I usually use. Image dimension is 1080 by 1080. I always like to test 3 creatives, so 3 images or 3 videos. You have to turn on a setting called dynamic creative to be upload individual images, not in a carousel. That's the way I like to do it. There's plenty of ways to do it though. And then with the text, so primary text will be the longer text and the headline. I do 2 of those each. So 2 primary texts, 2 headlines. And that's a way to A to B test those. I don't put any descriptions in there, or I leave basically everything else blank. Cool. Unique selling points. What separates you from every other company? That's typically what I like to focus on. But it has to be, it has to make people excited about going solar. For example, we make solar going simple is a very common one that like pretty much every country has multiple companies trying to push that narrative, and it's not really unique because other companies are doing it. So what separates you? How long have you been in business? Do you offer workmanship warranty, extended warranties, something like that separates you, right? You'll have a better experience on ads if there's something to distinguish you by. Or is your brand amazing? Awesome. Emojis are great. They kind of like keep people interested. Use them sparingly though. Don't just like plaster emojis everywhere. So set up a conditional form. This is something I've started doing, and it helps pre-qualify the lead. There's a way to set up a form where it asks people a couple of questions. I wouldn't do more than 2 questions, 2 to 3. And it's like you can ask them questions about, do you own a home? Do you own a business? Do you how much energy do you produce, or how much do you pay for energy per month? You can start to get a bit of a feel for it. And if people are low quality leads, they're so much less likely to sign up, right? Or if they're not a homeowner, they're not going to press yes, or they very rarely will press yes. So you can only work with quality leads. And that helps to train the Facebook pixel to understand that what's a good lead and what's a bad lead. The last two is call out the people you're after. If you're in Toronto and you're Toronto, Canada, and you're only doing the city of Toronto, call out Toronto homeowners. Just call those people out directly. Anyone that is not a homeowner or is not interested in solar is not going to buy solar anyway. So focus on those people that you really want to interact with, your best customers, and stay away from stock images if possible. Can see on the ads before that there were stock images everywhere. That will hurt your ROI from ads because they're obviously they don't really put forward your brand. Cool. A lot of information there. What questions do you guys have about the content, the best practices about
that? What are you referring to when you say primary text?
Yeah, okay. So in the ad section, the ad creation section of Facebook, you'll get it's where you basically enter the text that will show up on your ad. The headline will be actually I should be able to show you here. So the headline will be this bolded one, and then the primary text will be everything underneath it.
Gotcha. Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Any other questions at all? All right. All right. So basically, just to give a bit of an overview of everything I've kind of covered, you have to have the right strategy. If you're going into it with just the same strategy of like, oh, if I put ads out there, people will come, you're going to have a hard time making decent ROI. When you put a campaign live, leave it for 7 to 10 days. I've had campaigns that do nothing for the first 5 days and just burn money. And then day 6 and 7, get like 5 to 10 leads. It's kind of weird that it does it like that. Like, it's very rare that I'll touch an ad, on day 6, because as soon as you touch something, Facebook have to go back through their learning process again, and it starts from scratch. Just don't touch it. 7 to 10 days. Track and measure the most important hops we've talked about. It's just the stages in the funnel. Always be testing, what images work best, what copy, what text. Should always be testing something in your ads. And I see this all the time, like people relying on one stream of leads. So they're doing really well on Facebook, but then they don't invest in, any other type of marketing, any other type of like referral marketing, anything like that. And then the Facebook ad gets shut down and they've got 0 leads coming in. Facebook will shut down ad accounts for no reason, and it's kind of tough to get them back too. Don't mislead with free solar. That's for the marketing agencies out there. Stop doing that. It's not working. It's hurting solar. And sometimes it is your sales process. Sometimes the leads are good, but as I mentioned, I've talked to people and their sales process consisted of contacting people twice. It's like, well, typically you want to contact someone like 5 or 6 times. I send for my projects, my side projects as well, for the ads that I run for leads. You want to call them, text them, email them like 3 to 4 times. Some people are really responsive. Some people, you just need to get on with them at the right time. It's not they're a bad lead. It's just, you need to get in touch with them. You need to kind of bother them a little bit. And make sure your targeting an audience is correct. That's a whole other lesson that is well outside the scope of this lesson. But I'm happy to kind of touch on things and explain the process behind all of this. If you guys got questions, if something doesn't make sense, that is the end of the presentation. So what questions do you guys have? Yeah.
All right. So my question is more around the visuals on the creatives, is it important for you to have a creative with every Facebook ad, or you can just do text? So, for example, I'm trying to run a lead gen campaign
Mhm.
for generating leads on Facebook for solar, as you rightly claimed. So my question now would be, do I necessarily need to have an image, or can I just do a straight form? Which do you think will be a bit more convincing? And if I do need to have an image, does it need to be descriptive, or I need to put more in the caption than in the image? Thank you.
No worries. That's a really good question. Facebook is very visual. I believe if you're running leads campaigns, you can't do like instant messenger or anything like that. So it has to be some type of visual. Um, yeah, Facebook is a very visual platform, so you want to kind of, and this would be something you have to test. You always want to be testing images. What I would say is make them big and bright and eye-catching, and then have your main like unique service points. What separates you from other companies? What's the benefit of going solar? Test those and see what works the best. Yeah, definitely you want to say something. You want to say something that gets people excited and trusts your company, ideally, which is kind of easier said than done. But yeah, that's the goal. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does. Thanks, man.
Okay. No worries at all. Awesome. Any other questions? Okay. Did you guys want me to run through anything else about like the Facebook ads side of things, like what to kind of expect, anything at all, anything that didn't make sense, or anything else in the campaign setup that isn't clear? Okay. I guess that's pretty much the presentation. What I can do is just open the floor up for general marketing questions and kind of take it from there. Do you guys have any other marketing questions when it comes to marketing for a solar company?
Does the reach on videos differ from images with just organic?
With organic, yeah. So I think it was Alex Hormozy. I like Alex Hormozy a lot. And he was explaining that some people like long form and some people like short form content. So I think the idea that I think a certain group of people will like images, video. Some people like short video. Some people like long form video. So I think it's all depends on your audience. Um, in saying that, I think video typically does a bit better than images overall. I they are kind of more difficult, time consuming to make than images. Images, you can make easily like 10 in an hour that do well. But videos going to take a little bit longer, but they get your brand across. You've got a little bit more time to talk about your brand, talk about what you offer, talk about why to trust us over the competitors. I've done both. Video seems to have a better ROI. I'm trying to get images to work a bit better, but video is kind of where it's at. But it's kind of painful if you want to test A to B test a video. You've got to make 3 or 4 videos and then kind of test out them. It's a lot more kind of effort on the front end.
I can kind of be a test and share my results because
Yeah.
I mean we're going completely from we're very small right now. And I'm doing the bulk of the just everything here on my end. But I am, video is kind of that's my comfort level. I've done a lot of it. just in my personal, I'm a coach as well. So I do like personal development coaching. So I've done a lot of videos and that's my comfort zone. So I'm kind of going to be testing out the difference in doing videos that are more produced with images and text versus videos that I will just be doing more educational. And then also taking, me sitting in front of a camera. So doing ones like that, as well as taking that information and putting it into the video that is without me on there and more just images and text.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm going to be starting and seeing, I guess, and testing what works best, what gets the greatest reach, I guess. And then I don't know. That's kind of why I was asking about the reach, and if it would be a good metric to be able to measure. You can see with videos how many people have viewed it. And I know that Facebook, it's like what, 1 to 3 seconds or something like that on what is considered a view. It's not even, it just has to be like barely gone on to see that view when it's organic. But I guess in my mind, I'm just trying to figure out if it's worth producing multiple videos kind of on the same type of thing as a test and then running an ad based on what has the most views.
Yeah, okay. So I've got a few different points. So whenever I start a campaign and start building creatives, especially for a new campaign, I want my 3 creatives that I test straight away to be completely different. Like visuals different, text different, just like everything kind of all over the place, that I think is going to still work. But that way you can get 3 very different aspects into like what's going to work. You pick the best one and then optimize that, and then pick the best one again, optimize that. So you always try to beat the one that performed the best in your next test. Okay. Does that make sense? Like why I like to just be so different with my first creatives?
Yeah, that does actually.
Okay.
That whole different perspective. Yeah.
Yeah. So like different, like for images especially, different visuals, different colors, sometimes. Like you want to keep your branding, so people can kind of understand different people, different jobs you've installed, that kind of stuff. Like anything that's visually different will have a different effect, whether it's positive or negative to the ROI. You just want to make sure that you're kind of testing, but you want to test from a broad perspective and then narrow down on what works. As for these, like the Facebook ads, you can see that most are videos for solar companies. Most companies do videos, and like this one, bottom left, was just an automated generated AI one. They slapped together some images and made it into a movie. But these ones do quite well. Like the video where you've got a face, people like to do business with people they trust. So if you've got a face there, it lends a lot of credibility. You can kind of see all the videos have got people in them. So it's a pretty good indication that people work really well. Obviously, you have to be able to talk good on camera. You have to look professional. I like to see a branded shirt. Like I like to see that branded. Definitely helps. This guy from Terawatt Solar, you can see that down there. Little stuff like that will help. If this truck was signed right with Terawatt on it, once again, it's lending credibility to that brand. I would go in there. You can click these, you can play them, you can watch them and see what other companies are doing. It's a really great. You can see ad details. You can watch the video. You can see how they've targeted as well. I spend a lot of time in Facebook ads library for sure. Yeah.
Sorry, Ben, one question.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you find in the video a certain like length works better? Like 15 seconds, 30 seconds?
It definitely depends. And that's a kind of a bad answer, but it's one of them things that some people like short form content, some people like longer form content. I find videos around the 40 to 45 seconds is kind of the sweet spot that I've seen. But yeah, like it's one of them things I'd probably definitely test the longer form versus the short form. And you really want to be testing like your cost per lead kind of there, because you have a good click-through rate. They should be very similar click-through rates, but one's going to have a cost per lead, and then a cost per qualified lead is the metric that you would determine which one won on that aspect. Also cost per acquisition as well. Yeah. Does that make sense? So I didn't really don't really have a direct answer for you there. Sorry, mate. That's a tough one for sure.
Yeah, no, that works. Thanks.
No worries. All good. Any other questions? I've got one more point that you might be interested in, Brianna, but I wanted to just make sure there's no questions so far. Awesome. So what if you want to create videos, but you don't want to get on video yourself, or your team doesn't want to get on video, you can go to like places like Fiverr and Upwork and hire what's called someone like a spokesperson, a user generated content, so a UGC or spokesperson, and you give them the script and they record everything for you. They send you over the video. That does work quite well. I've used that for my businesses in the past, but your script has to be good. If your script's bad, the best spokesperson in the world isn't going to save it. And then on this video here, you can see that he's got text here. So like that says thousands of something. So you can then pass that video to someone else to put the captions on there. Captions I find work really well. Sometimes people will play the video muted, but they'll be able to read the captions, right? Don't put sound effects or kind of like cheesy imagery, like stock imagery I found in the back doesn't work. It hurts the conversion rate. And sound effects like things whooshing in and sliding out also really hurt my conversion rate. But you might be able to test and see if it's appealing to your customers, but just be careful, don't overdo it. Cool. That's it for me right now. Do you guys have any comments? Does something not make sense?
Hi Ben, can you hear me, please?
Yep, I can hear you.
Yeah, there are a few things I missed because I joined late. I just wanted to ask if you'd be kind enough to share the recording, please.
Yep, yeah. So I'll post this onto YouTube, and then I'll give you the link. Easy Mode Media on YouTube. You'll be able to find me there. Okay. I'll post all these up as a way to kind of promote these calls. The more people we get on, the more questions we get asked, helps everyone, right?
Awesome. Thanks, Ben.
Nice. Awesome. Any other questions at all?
I have one last question that I can think of. Have you used any of the platforms when it comes to like the AI platforms that convert the text into video and into like it does kind of everything all in one?
I haven't personally used them. I know some people are. I know of like in a community that I'm in, I know people are kind of trialing it. Yeah, I'm not too familiar with that yet. It is something that I'm looking into. I just don't have any recommendations right now. If I do, that'll probably be a great class moving forward for sure. Because AI is going to be powerful. It's just kind of finding the ways to utilize it as it's kind of such an emerging technology, emerging in the way of automating marketing at such a scale.
Awesome. Thank you.
All good. Yeah, that's it for me. I don't have any other Any other things to go through? No other comments at all? If there's no other questions about any type of marketing, yeah, we could probably leave it there.
Yeah, this was super valuable for me, and I'm soaking it all in. So yeah, thank you so much, and I will also share this with my partner in Oregon for his team and
Perfect.
see if they want to join in as well. So thank you.
Oh, good. I guess the one last question I had is like, I think having a few slides every week would be really, really good just to kind of structure the calls a bit more. What would you guys like to see? What would you guys like to learn about marketing? What would be the most beneficial for everyone?
I think on my end, you kind of covered a lot on like the metrics, which is really great. Maybe if we kind of like dissect some ads, what makes them good, what makes them bad, just do a little bit of case study, that'd be pretty cool. If also like maybe building funnels, so like nurturing campaigns, automations. Honestly, automations is a pretty big one, just because at least like in my experience, especially when you're starting out, I think I didn't do as good of a job in the qualification aspect of it. So having it at least like on Facebook, I think they kind of limit how many questions you could kind of ask and on the forum, or at least like for us, we had them like fill out their basic information, and we didn't really do many other qualifying questions, or we was it. Oh, hello.
Sorry,
Yeah,
you just broke up there a little bit.
Yeah. So we also want to like find that sweet spot in terms of how many qualifying questions we would ask. Because if we ask like too many, then it might, like lower the amount of people that are fill out the form. But then at the same time, the quality of the leads that we got, like a lot of them were just like weren't qualified, and that kind of like, hurt us a lot too. And then yeah, so there's that. But then yeah, also I think just like the automations and nurturing and keeping like, once you have a lot of like customer information, all the things that you can kind of like do with it to like play into your advantage, right? So like maybe moving them into like email campaigns, and then and
yeah, definitely. I like the automation. The automation is like, that could be a series in itself for sure. I for my businesses and my clients, I keep automation real simple. Some would like to push to like a go high level account. Some just want to work in Google Sheets, and like they're pretty old school like that. So yeah, I can kind of cover that. That would be a little bit out yet, because there's kind of a lot that I potentially could talk about. So I might have to do a few series in like automations for emails, automations for CRMs, and that kind of stuff, to provide that value. Does that sound good?
Yep. Yeah. Also, Ben, do you do much outbound at all?
Yeah. So.
Oh yeah. Because one thing that we were looking into, I mean, as opposed to like inbound, is also outbound through like cold calling. So like using like a dialer, and it kind of exploring how effective that is, and what kind of numbers that kind of looks like. I don't know if you have experience with that.
Not cold calling for solar companies. I've cold called for my agency. It's a pretty tough sell, in all honesty, that cold outreach, cold email, cold calling. I mean, I do have the software capabilities to do that. I just don't find it as effective as, like, when I put time and effort into marketing, I want to try and eventually have that marketing scale back for me. So I much prefer to go the social route, if I'm being honest, because if I create good content, it's expanding that reach, right? Yeah, I haven't had too much experience, if I'm being honest, with cold calling. I know people do that, and like door knocking, I guess, would be a similar aspect to kind of outbound. Um, yeah, I'm not too sure on that. I could definitely bring on like a bit of a guest speaker for that, because it's not something I'm going to specialize in, because I don't really find the value in it too much. But I'd be happy on learning for sure.
Okay.
I think I've lost you again, Cam.
Yeah, no worries. Sorry, my reception is just really bad over here. But yeah, no, I said that'd be awesome.
Okay.
If you do know someone that does do outbound in I guess like solar cold calling, because I have seen people do it in the States.
Mhm.
And some people have said it was pretty effective. And the number of especially when using a dialer as well that calls like 10 people at one time,
Mhm.
and then that could really be effective, because as opposed to like the traditional like door to door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're doing it at scale. I find that like that method just to be like just blast numbers. I know of some companies in the States that do that, and they have a really bad reputation for that. So it might work, but if you're calling the same number, if you're just spamming calls, and like that's really it, I think people get frustrated and annoyed at that pretty quickly. So just kind of, I think in moderation for sure. But then you still got to call the leads several times before they pick up, right? You can't just do it once or twice and be like, oh, dud lead, and that's gone. But cold calling is it's a numbers game, right? So you've got to do it at scale for sure. Yeah, let me have a look into that. I don't know anyone offhand for Canada. I know a couple of people in the States, but I don't think they do Canada. So I wouldn't want to bring someone on if they couldn't really answer questions. And like internationally cold calling around like spam laws and legislation and stuff like that might be a bit tough as well. So it'd have to be kind of a little bit, yeah, leave that with me. I'll get back to you on that.
Okay, thank you, Ben.
No worries at all. Yeah, is there any other types of marketing do you guys want to know about, like Google Ads, website design, SEO, anything like that would be of interest?
What about like referrals and networking with, I live in a place it's kind of a mix. It's a small town type community. Have an influx of people, flooding in, but it's very much keeping things local is really important to people around here. So that's kind of, we're all about
Mhm.
ownership here and integrity, and so that is definitely really important. And I'm really glad that you did chime in there about the cold calling thing. I don't think that that's going to be an avenue for us, just for what we're trying to build here. But we have so many, real estate agents, and thankfully I went to school with all of them, so, and their moms and their sons, and all of them are real estate agents. So how like referral programs, is that worth reaching out to these people and like sharing that, or is that what are your thoughts on that?
It's something that I've been looking into. Like I've started a side project in Canada, dealing with like solar quotes and all that kind of stuff. So it is something I'm looking into personally. It's not something I've done because I've only ever done the marketing for like the SEO, there's like the website design, ads, that kind of stuff. The traditional kind of digital marketing. I think from just thinking about it, that real estate agents are going to be a good source of leads if you find the right people, obviously. I can see that working. I find it quite hard to kind of, it's all about generating that relationship before you try and go into a business relationship, I find. So the networking is going to be important. How that would look, yeah, I mean, you could give them a call, you could give them a cold call, and just be like, hey, this is what we're doing. How do you feel about that? Like, would that be of interest? And see how that works. Make the cold call personal, because if you get one or two, that's going to be a potential huge influx of referral leads rather than trying to spam out the end user in cold calls, right? I think that has a lot of legs for sure. How that would look, not sure. I don't really know much about real estate agents, but like, what would be the best way to get in touch with them? And what are they looking for? Can we help with that? Can we solve their problems about, their homeowners looking to go solar? I think that's the right line of questioning and thought process for sure.
Awesome. Yeah.
Have you?
Oh, go ahead, Cam.
Oh yeah, Brianna, have you talked with many real estate agents about solar? Because I've actually thought about the idea as well. However, I know that at least like with real estate agents, they have like a million things that they can refer to, right? So many different like home renovation, like like painters, like tilers, whoever, that they could kind of refer to. So it's like what would set you apart from, because they also don't want to like promote a bunch of different companies, right? Like for like that all have referral programs. So what would set you apart from like the others? And then also, apparently within like real estate, it kind of muddies up the because solar has like a increase of appraisal. However, that's not a hard number. It's just kind of like a rough value based on surveys done in like the States. And apparently, like when you sell your home with solar, it kind of makes the process a bit harder. So I don't know about you, Ben, Brianna, Michelle, like your guys' experience with that or knowledge surrounding that.
Yeah, I know the process of selling a home with solar in the States is a lot different than Canada. I'm a part of the Facebook groups where people complain about it pretty constantly. So yeah, I'm not too, like, I know the kind of like the basic idea around it, but like Brianna might be able to kind of chime in more with a bit better insight than me on that one.
I've only have experience on what I've read as well. We are very new here, and so I've seen that solar increases the value of your home. But then on the other hand, I've also read a lot about the difficulties then when it comes to sell. I think for me, one thing that's been important and I think is going to be important is kind of letting the person know that we're working with as well, who we're selling systems to, just to kind of have an idea of that up front, that if they, how long do they plan to stay in their house, if they're going to be there for 2 years. I don't know. I just want them to know ahead of time so that they're not in a position later where they think they're going to take their panels with them or something along those lines. So yeah, it's all kind of new to me as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like that's a bit of it's an interesting one coming from like predominantly Canada and like the UK, Australia. Like we don't really have that problem. I haven't really experienced that issue, if I'm being totally honest. But yeah, I would be interested to hear more about that, because it doesn't, on the surface level, doesn't make sense to me. But I'm sure there's more kind of like behind the scenes kind of red tape and that kind of stuff that cause issues, from the sounds of it, at least from those Facebook groups.
I have some close real estate agent friends, and I will kind of dig in a little bit, see if they've experienced it.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll try to see what I can find here. But yeah, it might differ from where you guys are than it is here, but I can at least have an idea and bring that forth next week.
Yeah, perfect. Sounds good. Yeah, I think that. Is there any other questions, actually?
Oh, I was just kind of curious, Ben. What was the side project you've been working on?
It's a multiple quote kind of solar broker agency. Solar broker company that I'm working on develop with a partner. We're kind of in that initial phase of just kind of seeing what's going on. and kind of sort out our processes and stuff like that. So it's not really visible too much yet. It is kind of slowly getting out there and getting the legs on it, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's a
Wait, I actually.
Yeah.
Is it called Canadian Solar Quotes?
it is, yeah, that's it.
Oh,
I think
I think I followed it on Instagram. I saw an ad
oh,
for it.
nice. Thank you. Thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's it. It is still pretty brand new. So it's definitely, we're just looking to educate the end users in Canada, obviously
Yeah.
being Canadian. And it's just all about the education. I find there's a lot of misinformation out there. And I'm a marketer. My partner also does the solar kind of marketing, solar project management, and all that kind of stuff. So we should have both ends of the sides of the coin kind of covered. But yeah, still brand new project for sure. Getting there.
That's awesome.
It's enjoyable.
Cool.
I like seeing the other side of it rather than just marketing all the time.
Yeah. Are you guys currently taking on like clients to I guess like have you guys already started yet? The operations?
Yeah, we have. So we're not currently looking for more partners at the moment. But the plan is to start to expand our reach once we kind of get those internal processes down. We don't want to scale without having solid processes behind us. Otherwise, that'll just cause so much headaches. But yeah, I'll keep you in mind once we kind of get to that point of like, oh, we need more partners. Where are we expanding? Who's the best partners in that area that we can kind of
because you guys basically take on like, or you guys consider like all the different solar companies and then just like pick out like the best quotes.
So typically we're going to be taking on a select number of partners to start with, just because we don't want to be getting 10 quotes and then we have to kind of sift through 10 just to start. How that looks in the future, it might just be a question I'd like to bring to my partner and to my customers, like how can we serve you guys better? Like what would be the best value for you guys? Because knowing other companies all around the world, I know Australia has solarquotes.com.au that does it very, very well. The States has a bunch, UK has a bunch. So there's a lot of potential in this area, but there's a lot of slightly different business models in the back end of their marketing that I can kind of assume from. So it's just kind of trying to figure out what's the best for those people, those end users, and promote that. So
I see.
Yeah.
How many partners do you guys have?
We've got 3 at the moment.
Right on, nice.
Yeah. So definitely as we expand, obviously Canadian solar quotes, we're looking to expand to the entirety of Canada. But yeah, just kind of taking it slow to start.
Yeah. Well, best of luck. And if you ever want to have a conversation or want any like insight or want a partner, let me know.
Yeah, sounds good, mate. I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks for the shout out.
Yeah, of course.
All good. Awesome. Is there any other questions at all? I'll put together some slides for next week. One thing that kind of you said, Brianna, that made me think, do you guys have like local SEO set up? This is something I always see solar companies kind of get wrong. I could go through kind of the process of making sure your Google business profile is set up, it's being updated, all the local SEO information's there. Because if you're local, that's what Google is looking for specifically, right?
That would be great. That's all new to me, and I did do something when I put up the website and Google, like when I was started to go on that about a year ago. But I honestly just don't even know, it was so new to me. I'm not sure what I've done. So that would be super helpful.
Yeah, sounds good. I can go through like that process, especially for like newer companies. It's like you want certain information in certain areas of your website. You want your Google My Business profile to be set up and have the right information there. And it's not difficult, but it's just like if you don't know, you don't know, right? That I think that'd be a really good one, because through my YouTube channel and through questions that I get asked, It's like, how do I get more local leads rather than like, you know, statewide or nationwide leads? So I think that'd be like a very good one. And it'll give me some time to look at some of these more in-depth ones you mentioned, Cam, for sure.
That would be wonderful.
Sounds good. I also like the referrals and networking one as well. I think that's a really great potential topic. But yeah, I will reach out to my network and see who I can potentially pick their brains a little bit on, you know, what they would like to see. Perfect. Awesome.
great.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Awesome. Okay, sounds good. I think that's pretty much it. Did you guys have any other questions at all before we jump off this call? I appreciate this one's gone for over an hour as well, so I keep underestimating how long these calls are going to go for.
No more questions from me, but thank you. Appreciate you.
No worries at all. Awesome.
I'm good on my end too, Ben.
Sounds
Thank you
good.
for everything.
No worries at all. Yep. If you guys got any other, like anything else you'd like to see throughout the week, just message me. However, yeah, we're being kind of having a conversation and more than happy to kind of help and give advice kind of off these calls as well. Awesome. Yep. Thanks again. And I'll speak to everyone next week. If you know anyone else that would like to join the call, you can more than happy to kind of give them the call information. I can invite them as well, just to kind of start getting more people on here, more people, more questions. Yeah, helps everyone.
Great. Thanks, man.
No worries at all. Awesome. You guys have a great rest of the day and rest of the week, and talk soon.
All right. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.